Okay, cool.
All right.
Hey, hello. I just really check if we're live on YouTube as well.
Okay.
Okay. Are we live on X? Just so.
Yes, we are.
Okay, cool. I think we can just start then.
All
Okay,
right.
cool. Did you want to go first?
Yeah. So, how's it going?
It's good.
Awesome. We're going to be talking today about some AI news stories, specifically with a go to market and growth focus. And the first story we're going to be talking about is a pretty fun story. There's an app or an AI called Daisy Harris, which is an AI generated grandmother that has been wasting the time of scammers who are using a lot of AI themselves to try to trick people out of money. So I'm sure you've had this experience, Roman. I've certainly had it where you get a call and it's like the FBI, it's Interpol, it's someone serious and they need you to send money right away. Most of us recognize that that's a scam, but of course, if you're not too technologically fluent, then you can fall for those. And even I've fallen for phishing, right? You're just not paying attention. It can happen. So I thought this was a really cool use of technology because I think we're going to see more and more scamming and phishing attempts happen, especially as Gen AI gets better. And it's been cool to see the way that people are defending against it. I'm just curious, have you had any experience with scamming? What do you think about the products that are coming out to fight scamming?
I've never. This has actually never happened to me. I think as soon as I see a number I don't recognize, I usually just put the phone down. So.
Safe than sorry, baby. Yeah, nice. Now, this is something that happens to me a lot. Maybe it's because my phone number is public, but I often get reached out to by these people, and it's such a huge waste of time. So it was really cool to see someone building out a product that is going to waste the time of the scammers as well.
Wait, what actually is it? So yeah, like it's a AI granny, so it just
Yeah,
processes all of it.
so it's basically a voice to voice model, or sorry, a text to voice model that can act in real time. So what is happening is when you're on the call, the model is going to take whatever the person says, pass it through a voice to text model, take out that text, pass it to the model, and then it's going to take that text and create a response that's in text and then pass that to a text to voice model. And it can have a real time conversation with another human being.
Really cool. I think I actually saw some really interesting products. Like
Okay.
that. Yeah, yeah. I think is it using OpenAI like real time?
Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, I think that that's a really interesting use case for companies that are looking to build out products is that real time and something that we're going to see a lot more in 2025.
Yeah, really cool.
Yeah. Is there anything you want to talk about?
Yeah, yeah. I will share my screen. I'm gonna quickly find it again. Well, I've got two things. So I've got a hard thing and a easy thing. So I might start with the easy thing and then go to the hard thing.
Okay. I like that format.
Yeah. Um,
You like the bad news first?
yeah. I'm trying to. Okay. Here we are. Okay, I thought this was really interesting. It's like you kind of think about this, especially if you're building a startup. It's
Yeah.
just Reddit. Yeah, no SaaS-based company will survive AI. Right
Mhm.
now, we're currently concerned about job loss due to AI. But
Yeah.
his main thought is basically he works at a really big company, and he just knows like AI is going to be able to build it. Like the companies are paying him. I can't remember where he said it. Yeah, like 200K a year for a SaaS product, and with like Cursor now, you can build things in like minutes. So like, are any like B2B companies going to exist?
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely a lot of these companies that you're seeing every single day when a new announcement comes out from one of these companies, it's like killing a startup out there. So you got to make sure that you're building something that isn't just on top of something else that can get you knocked out, the second that OpenAI releases a new product.
So what? Yeah, like what I'm thinking about, like what kind of companies are safe?
Honestly, safe is a strong word, but I think for sure the frontier companies that are leading, like OpenAI, Anthropic, Mistral, I don't see them going anywhere. I also think that the companies that have been able to utilize the creative AI are going to have a place to stay. So that's companies like Replicate or Crea, where you can do, or Midjourney, for example, where you can turn text to images or text to movies even now. And then the third one is something I'm sure you're familiar with is agents, because a lot of these agent tools are using tools that we already have, but they're combining them in different ways that weren't seen before. And to be able to combine them, you have something proprietary in your stack, right? You're not just using ChatGPT. So I think those are three categories I would say that are going to have sticking power.
Well, I'm curious just because so this you say Midjourney, but like yeah, what's something like Cursor? I guess putting together Stable Diffusion via Replicate to build some sort of like image generation. You know, like how does one big creative company take all the market share when like a lot of these models are open source?
Yeah, so I think the big like advantage that they have is just the head start that they have
Sure.
with all the training data specifically on images. It's a similar reason why OpenAI is doing so well. They have such a big head start on the text data, but they haven't trained as many images because it just hasn't been their focus. As you mentioned, though, it could become their focus, and then if all of a sudden you can fine tune a model using DALI, then maybe less people use Midjourney. So that's actually a very valid point that I didn't really think about. Even the things that you think might be safe because of their head start, if these companies decide that they want to train an image model, it might be better than yours.
I guess then community becomes kind of the moat.
Community is definitely a big one because Midjourney, for example, has a really active Discord. You actually use their product on Discord as well. So that's some nice integration. And then also branding, right? Because now that there's so many options, right? If you have a paper you want to summarize, I can go to ChatGPT, I can go to Perplexity, I can go to Claude, I can go to Mistral. Like they're all gonna summarize the paper. Yeah, sure, some do it better or worse than others, but almost like a mechanic or a restaurant, like you don't always go to that place because they do the best job. There's a lot of different considerations like community, price, how much support can I get, right? If you go to a bigger company, you're just going to be a number. Whereas at these smaller companies, they're more likely to actually care about you as a customer. So I think the community one is definitely huge, though, and why having a community is so valuable. Because even if someone comes out with a better product, if you have an active Discord, you have events in the community, people are still going to be around for that.
This is kind of off topic, but do you think AI can fake community?
I think AI can fake community, yes. But I think the same way, if you get someone who's verified to follow you on Twitter, it doesn't have the same value as someone who's not verified, even if they're a real human being. I think you're going to see the same thing where there are these AI societies that are posting in YouTube comments or leaving comments on Instagram posts, but they're going to have less value than a real human, of course. They're not going to have zero value, but they're not going to have as much value.
Interesting. Yeah. Yeah. I guess I don't have anything else more on the subject. If I'm okay to move on.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think so. You're probably more equipped to sort of talk about this, but I just saw Anthropic announce something. It seems pretty big.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So this is a really exciting announcement that just came out about Anthropic is basically going to start implementing MCP or Model Context Protocol. And if you're curious about why this is a huge deal, it's because right now there's a lot of work being done by people, kind of like you mentioned that 200,000 a year. Those people are getting paid to connect pipes. So you've got a pipe over here that does something like, let's say you've got your Google Drive, and then you've got a pipe over here that does something like, let's say it's going to analyze the sentiment of documents in that Google Drive. Connecting those pipes right now is most of the effort in any kind of AI system. And then also being able to make sure that nothing breaks once you've connected the pipes, right? Because APIs change, programs evolve, things like that, right? So the MPCP is exciting because it's going to introduce a universal protocol where not only are they going to have pre-built servers for popular platforms like Slack, Google, I also saw GitHub, but also they're going to introduce this universal standard for all of the data tools to work with Anthropic as well as any other model that's open source. So it's super exciting for the open source ecosystem because what you're going to see is now you're going to have a lot more flexibility when you're choosing between not only your LLM, but your data provider. And some of the companies that we've seen already take advantage of MCP are Block and Apollo. So those are more on the financial side. And then also things like Replit and Zed are also using MCP because when you have AI coding tasks, it's really a nightmare to have a website that handles that because the documentation is always changing and things just break. So having that MCP set and defined protocol is going to be something that's really awesome for all builders.
Interesting. So I'm just curious, like, how do they enforce this standard to other open source? Is it just good for open source, or open source will be naturally drawn to it, or is it like something where they're going to have to kind of market it?
Yeah, no, I mean, there's no way for them to enforce it. It's more of a just the tables turn, right? And all of a sudden, if you're not using MCP, then people aren't using your product because they feel like, well, it's going to be so much more work to integrate this, right? So what you're going to see is at first there's probably going to be a little slow, but once you see people like Replit, Apollo picking it up, then you know that there's some real like power behind this, and you have to start exploring. Okay, if we're not in the MCP protocol, why are we not?
So I think we talked about this a little bit before, but at what stage do you think OpenAI would be forced to adopt it? Because I'm guessing like the bigger companies would be later, or do you think they're going to jump on it straight away?
Yeah, so if I'm not mistaken, OpenAI has their own standard. So what we're probably going to see is I don't know if you remember the HD DVD versus Blu-ray or
Yeah.
VHS versus Betamax. It's going to be one of those where eventually one of them wins out and everyone goes that way. Or alternatively, the two companies get together and decide on one unified platform.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I guess this. So, do you think this is better for all these sort of AI coding platforms like Cursor, stuff like that, so people would be able to build things faster?
Yep, for sure. I mean, you can imagine having GitHub integrations as well as Slack integrations with your Cursor workflow. So now, when someone makes a PR, you can have Cursor look to see what the comments are on the PR. It can look to see what the context is around that PR in Slack. If you have a really intelligent system, you can basically have different channels for different PRs, and then Cursor can go into those channels, pull out the relevant data, and help the coder. So these are all tools that excite me because they're looking to amplify the developer. And at the end of the day, you're still going to need a human in the loop, but we can make their job easier.
Yeah, definitely. This is kind of off topic, but I think a really good example is I don't know if AI is going to completely replace SaaS, because it's like I see people with a lot of money when they sort of go to do video editing.
Yeah.
Even though they've got a lot of money, they've got the best tools. They can get any video editor. Like, it just doesn't look as good because they don't like fully like understand what works.
Yep.
It's kind of the same thing.
Yeah.
Development in some senses.
No, that's a really good point you make. And kind of goes back to that point you made earlier about what is the moat for some of these companies. And some of the moat is just being authentic, right? We all know someone who's actually a skateboarder versus someone who has money and wants to look like a skateboarder. And there's something off about their vibe, right? It's like maybe the pants aren't ripped because you haven't actually fallen. Maybe your shoes aren't scuffed because you haven't actually skated. There's these little things that people who are into skateboarding are going to pick up on. And even if you come in with the sickest skateboard and the dopest gear, you might even be able to skate. As if you don't have that vibe that the people in the community are interested in, then they're not going to be interested in whatever you have.
No, definitely. Yeah. No, it's interesting. Yeah, like it's like I think the whole thing about it is like I guess the only thing we can do is kind of speculate. But it's interesting.
Yeah. Well, the goalposts keep moving too, right?
Yeah. But to be fair, that's anything I wanted to say. Was there anything else that you wanted to go over?
No, that hits it on Anthropic. I think that was a good one. Your point about what is going to be the moat is really going to stick in my head. So maybe I'll come back tomorrow with a better response. I love your answer of community though, because that's definitely one thing where you meet people, you build those relationships, and then things become different.
Yeah, yeah, because it's kind of a bit of a trend now. I've actually seen some really interesting. Um, I guess it's kind of like way of doing startups. I see these people, they kind of build the communities first. They've got
Okay.
like a paid community, and then they're using that to test their SaaS product on. So like instead of building the product first and then marketing to people, they build the community
Yeah.
first and they build the product inside the community. And I think that's
I
a pretty
mean,
good way of doing it.
that might be the way to do it moving forward, right? Because they always say like talk to your users. Well, what if you just are your users? You
Yeah,
know,
yeah, yeah,
why not?
yeah. Okay, well, yeah, I think that's it for today. I guess we'll come back on tomorrow.
Yep. Tomorrow at 12 p.m. PST, 8 p.m. GMT, right?